Hello and welcome to my channel. Finally, I'm going to share with you about the big battery upgrade.
CQ, this is Kilo Echo 4, Whiskey Mike Foxtrot.
Roger, you are blasted into Ohio 59 plus 20.
Welcome back and thanks for being here. My name is Scott, and when I last shared with you, I think that was when I did the final review on my 12 volt 100 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery. The battery served me pretty well, but in the abusive environment here, one of the cells had started to degrade. So I'm going to use that battery in the house for something. I'll find an application for it. So I went ahead and started shopping for, gosh, now you can just buy a ready-made battery. I even said that when I very first introduced that cell, that there's going to come a point to where you can just buy a battery on Amazon for less than what I paid. Interestingly enough, that 12 volt cell, actually it's a 3 volt cell if you buy them one at a time, they still cost the same today as they did back 4 years ago when I bought them. And so yes, very definitely I could buy a fully ready to install battery on Amazon for less. So that's what I did. Watt Cycle was having a sale. So I started by looking at their 100 amp hour minis, which I could have fit right where the old one came out, but that would restore my 25 amp hours of lost capacity, but then how long would it take for me to be right back where I am or was in November? So I decided, let me find a place to put 2 of the 100 amp hour batteries, and gosh, 200 amp hours, that would just be completely awesome in this car. Overkill, which is sort of what I do. And even as they diminish in capacity, it still would have been more than I needed. So I figured I would put them in a box just like this one. And I started brainstorming how I would do it, how to wire it, how to brace them in the box, how to get everything configured to work. And as I started shopping, I saw their 300 amp hour battery was very reasonably priced. And I just decided it'd be a whole lot easier to just take a single 300 amp hour cell, drop it in the box. Wiring is easier, bracing is easier, and then let her rip. Holy cow, 300 amp hours. That's 4,000 watt hours of capacity in this little clown car. I have them in my Husky boxes here. So this is where the battery is, and it is locked down on this. And here pretty soon, I'm going to upgrade this mechanism to one that actually can feature a padlock. But all of this is locked to the deck. And then you can see my, my toolbox here sits on top. This is for tower bits and things like that. And I need to get this out of the way so that I can show you the box. So give me just a second. All right, here is the Husky box. And as you look closer, you can see some of the hardware that I have in there for the braces and the, what is this one for? The smart shunt. And I have more on that side. You'll see the bracing here in just a minute. So let me show you the inside. I am going to take this battery out and I'll show you some B-roll. I just can't do it right now because I need to go someplace. But like I said, I am going to upgrade this base here. And the base holds everything down, but it's just bolted or screwed here with wood screws. I have a replacement for this that will use actual through bolts and can be locked down with a padlock, and I will show you that. So as I show you the inside here, I have this topped with just a foam exercise mat, somewhat for cosmetics, but a little bit for heat retention. This here is the thermostat for the heat that is beneath the battery. And I'll show you some photographs of all that stuff. So there's a heating pad under the battery, and this turns on at 8 degrees Celsius, which I believe is around 46 degrees Fahrenheit, and it heats up to 18 degrees, which I think is about 65 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's not to keep this that warm. That's the heat of the heating pad. The pad will go up to almost 200 degrees if you leave it unchecked. So the thermostat is very necessary. And I don't know how, I don't think there's a way to change this to read Fahrenheit. So I just have to, it's a set it and forget it kind of thing. So it doesn't bother me that this is metric. And then when I take this off, that reveals a temperature sensor so that I can read that from the front of the car. And coincidentally, I can also read this sensor from up in my office. And there is a small fuse panel. Currently, only thing plugged into it is this. Soon I will get another thermostat for fan control, because I'm going to watch this to see how hot it gets during the summertime. And during the summer, I might need some fans in here to keep it cool. This here is what you came here to see. If I can get that out one hand. And that is the battery here itself. So here is the battery. It is upside down from your perspective. So again, watt cycle, 12 volt, 314 amp hour. It has a 200 amp battery management system. And sure, I mean, I've got the inverter in the car, so I could pull 200 amps from this thing, but I'm not ever going to. Now, this is a dumb battery, and that means that the BMS does not have Bluetooth nor an app. There had been some security concerns, and so experts, namely Will Prowse, really wanted to see people steer away from the smart batteries. And let's face it, a smart battery, the smart version of this battery, is around $100 more. And the added complication of the Bluetooth apps on the phone with tracking and questionable things that, hey, it's debatable, but isn't life better without the app anyway? So I use the smart shunt to track the things that would normally be tracked by the app. So about the only thing that the smart shunt cannot track is the state of charge of each of the individual cells. I can track the state of charge for the battery pack as a whole, and I can see how much current is going in and out. And now that I have this temperature sensor, I can monitor the temperature. Here is the way, so let me talk about the bracing first. So I have these 2x4s in here, and those are screwed in from the side. And then that is braced again with these 2x4s underneath here. So there is the smart shunt, and you can see its Bluetooth is active. And those hold the battery that way against those little 1x4 strips, no, 1x2 strips. And then I do not have any 2x4 bracing over here, because under there, and I don't think you can see it so well, I guess you can sort of see it, that red thing there, that is a safety cover for the cutout switch. It's a safety cutout switch, and so that prevents the battery from sliding any farther that way. And I also have some exercise padding in there just to kind of provide a little bit of cushion in there. So now that I've shown you the mechanics of it, let me show you the electrical. Let's see, where will I start? Well, let's start at the obvious place, the battery terminals themselves. So obviously here we have the positive terminal, and this here is what's called a marine rated battery fuse, or MRBF. And so this little fuse here, it's 250 amps. And this blue device down here is a temperature sensor for the Victron Smart Shunt. And it's amazing to me that that lug there can read the internal temperature of the battery, but it does, because this whole thing in here, it's just a big mass that it's like a heat sink, and so it absorbs all this heat. And no matter how cold this might get right here, it's going to read what's in here because of all the mass of the storage. And so even if this box in here says that it is, I don't know, 47 degrees, if this thing is retaining heat, it might still say 50, or it even could say 30 because the box hasn't heated up yet. Actually, it'll never say 30 because the heater will keep it from getting that cold. This battery, the BMS, does feature low temperature protection, so it will not accept a charge if the temperature of the battery drops to below 32 degrees. And there's a difference between the battery being below 32 degrees and the air temperature being below 32 degrees. So let's just make that clear. I already suggested that this battery is like a big heat sink, and so its temperature is going to differ from the air temperature. I guess you could also say it's a cold sink. So when the battery temperature does drop to below 32 degrees, let's say I turn on the heat in the car and I take it for a drive, it might get nice and toasty warm in the car. Maybe I can get it up around 80 degrees in here, but it would, the last time I did a test like that on a smaller battery, it took 90 minutes for the temperature of the battery to actually, once it's in low temp cutoff, it's not a matter of getting the battery up over 32 degrees or 0 degrees Celsius. you have to get it all the way up to 41 degrees. And so that means that if the battery slips into a low temp protective state, it can take a very long time to get it up to where you can start charging again. So my goal with installing the heat is to make sure that I just don't put the battery into a protective state at all. So do I need the heat? No, I just want it. It's a luxury and kind of a convenience in a weird sort of way, because by getting the battery charging right away when I start the car, I'm actually offsetting the amount of power that was consumed by the heater before it would have resumed charging anyway, if that makes sense. But anyway, from the end of the MRBF here, my positive goes down to the safety cutout switch, and then it comes out down there. Let me see if I can turn on the light here. Oh, there we go. That looks good. And so then it comes out down there and follows a path across under the brace and then up and out of the box connection. The box connection has, I put the terminals are exposed, but I put a cover over the outside of it. And that is just to protect, it's very important actually, that is to protect those exposed terminals from making contact with any cargo that might shift. So the terminals are protected on the outside. Now the negative terminal is buried down there. Can you see that? Can I see it? And so basically from the negative terminal, it goes over here to the smart shunt. The smart shunt measures everything, and then negative terminal continues out to the negative connection on the outside of the box. The ideal charge rate for this battery, just about any battery really, lithium iron phosphate, is 0.2 C, where C is capacity. So if I take 314 amp hours and multiply that by 0.2, the answer is 62 amps. So not only is 62 amps considered the ideal charging rate by experts, and because of my own research myself, the manual itself just goes, it doesn't even explain 0.2 C, it just says 62 amps. Now I don't have anything in the car that can deliver a charge rate at that high, but I can during the winter charge at 50 amps and during the summer around 40. So unlike with my previous battery, I know I won't run into a situation where I'm overcharging or putting too much current into the battery through charging. The charger that I use delivers 50 amps, up to 50 amps, and I'll share that in the next video. Now I'm not sure what else I can say about this battery. Well, I will say that it's heavy. The battery itself weighs 60 pounds. The box, the copper, and the wood bracing, all that other stuff that's in here, it totals, this box with the battery in it totals 82 pounds. And so I can pick it up and I can move it, but it's not terribly fun. Somebody asked me, why didn't you build this into one of the Husky boxes that has wheels on it? And yes, I could have done that. The wheeled boxes are a little bit taller, so that I wouldn't have been able to fit as many boxes in here as I do, and it also won't fit in the trunk quite right. But those were only small reasons for why I didn't build into one of those Husky roller boxes. The main reason why I didn't do that is because I want this box to be a total pain in the butt for anybody who might attempt to steal it. Anything can be stolen with enough time, privacy, and tools. I want to make them work for it. And that's part of the reason why I am upgrading this base to something that's bolted through, so they won't be able to unbolt it because it's going to slip on the inside, and there will be a padlock to lock it all down. Like I said, they'll be able to get to it and steal it, but they're going to have to work to get to it. I'm not going to make it easy for them, and therefore it's not easy for me either, but that is what security costs, is some inconvenience. I do still want to share with you the 12-volt distribution. I want to keep these videos relatively short and manageable, so I will remove this battery box here, and then I'll show you the 12-volt distribution, which is under the floor here. I've done some upgrades, and of course now that there's not a battery under there, there's more room. So I don't know, we'll see what you think of all of this. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. I did write and share a companion article on my website. Go check it out. It might say something there that I did not say here in the video. As always, I appreciate you being here, and I will see you next time. Take care.